The next bit's probably one of the most challenging bits, and it's also the most enjoyable bit. It's starting to sell your service, right? Starting to actually go out and sell kind of what you've built to the broader audience. You've already sold maybe 1 or 2 investors at this point. You might even have sold some of your teammates, but actually selling it to anybody other than your mum is quite tough. So Karen was the first person to learn how to sell our service. Now, Karen's not a lawyer. Karen came from the Ritz-Carlton, is that right? Am I remembering that right? Yeah, after that you were in Compass, right? Yeah. Offices. So sold real estate and sold the VIP world. I approached Karen at 5 to midnight on LinkedIn and said, will you come and join us? I've got to fill like 5 gaps, and one of them says sales director. I don't know what you're going to do, but it's going to be really important. I'm going to pay you next to nothing, it's going to be brilliant. Karen was like, who's this weirdo? But anybody who approached me at midnight, I'm going to join that team, he sounds like a good guy. I was like to my wife, I was like, got another person ticked off. Karen came in and she said, what am I selling? And said, well, here's the irony. We haven't got a product, that will come in a few weeks' time. When the product does arrive, we won't be able to sell it because we won't have any payment mechanisms, but just go around and tell everybody it's brilliant. And she's like, but I don't know anything about law, and I was like, okay, shit. Because until then, I'd been basically running a consulting firm where we were selling legal services, and it's quite easy for me to go into a room and make somebody believe that I might have some capacity to help them solve their problem. Now we're using technology to try and replicate that. We're trying to sort of take me out the picture, and I'm going to have somebody else who is going to go in and say, I'm not actually a lawyer, I can't do any of those things, but I'm still going to sell you a service. So it's kind of a lot of fun involved in trying to just really learn how to turn the law into McDonald's overnight. And we figured it out, and Karen got very, very good at selling overpriced McDonald's to people. Someone tells you this can be an enormous thing, so you take a whole bunch of extra cash, and suddenly you've got a massive sales force. And then you're trying to work out how to sell this product through like 5 degrees of separation through 15 other people. I think we went from, at that point, about 5 people to about 30 people, of which 15 or 16, I think, were sales guys, most of whom couldn't speak any languages that were the same. Yeah. So we were trying to do this in about 4 different languages. We were trying to sell legal services that had never been done before, because before that it was always partner-driven law firm sales. The product still didn't work, we still couldn't take payments for it, and we were about to launch Singapore. So it all got a bit messy. It wasn't particularly cleanly done, I think it's fair to say. So the next bit for me, I then moved to Singapore. So I went to Singapore for a year to try and do it all over again. Got to Singapore, started at square one, started getting all the very same people, having all the very same conversations. Felt like Groundhog Day would only be a year. This was 4 years ago. But we got through that second year with an important point in our life. We had 2 markets, whereas at that point probably most companies might only have 1. We had an infrastructure set up. We had a sales force operating on the ground in 2 countries. We had a second market growing nearly as fast as our first. And I think just through sheer tenacity and good luck, we managed to sort of finish 2016, I think it was 2016, yeah, with a business that looked, like it was actually going to do something. So return to the office was the next phase in my kind of little journey, I guess. And that's, I guess, when it started to get more difficult for you as a founder, or as, people start to call you CEO, and it's always going to feel disingenuous. You always feel like a fraud, not an actual fraud, but but a fraud in the sense that the name doesn't befit the person. But you realise that something's changed about your company, and like I say, this could happen in months rather than, in my case, years. You don't know the people that you work with, and you suddenly sit in a room back in Hong Kong, for my case, where you look around the room and there's, I guess, less people in this room than there are in our company. I didn't know a good half of them at that point, or if I did, I might know them by name, but I certainly didn't know them as people. And you can't leverage the things that you used to use. You can't just go and pull favours with certain individuals. You can't try and cut rank and go to the person you want to talk to, because you've suddenly got a business, you've suddenly got a structure, and folks have worked hard in that business to form relationships and to work out politics and to start to kind of make a mark and to form processes. And so you realise that you've lost a bit of the sort of, not only the fun, but a bit of the kind of the edge that you had at the beginning. But most importantly, the vision is lost, almost certainly. It's incredibly hard to retain a vision which was probably very thinly crafted in the outset, because you're so busy just racing to try and do something that actually you don't have a great deal of time to really make sure that vision is actually good and sound and solid. And there's certainly no way in which the folks that are now joining you have a great idea of it more than perhaps having seen it written down. So this is the year when you spend a lot of time kind of trying to reinvent yourself as an internal spokesman And you realise that it's no longer your job to be super creative. It's less your job to try and chase for cash because someone else is probably doing that. It's certainly not your job to sell the product anymore, but it is your job to try and sell the spirit and the business and to try and teach your company that they've made the right decision, that they're in the right place, that will constantly be new opportunities, that you're going in the right direction, and that this was ultimately the right decision to join this ship, right? Because there's plenty of other things that your team can be doing with their time.